Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Marketing Matchmaker. If you have not been following me in the last month or so, we are doing strategy sessions with our audience members, just helping people that are struggling with their marketing get ahead and get some new ideas and thoughts behind that. So today I have Nick Zellman on, and he's actually the founder of Czar Clothing, which is a trademark brand that specializes in high quality athleisure wear for men and women. He moved to Texas and acquired a business degree in entrepreneurship from Baylor University before embarking on a successful career in technology sales. I am having a hard time talking today. Nick conceptualizes Czar Clothing over 10 years ago, but didn't formally start the company in 2016. And I would love to dive into all things Czar Clothing with you, Nick. Tell me a little bit about how'd you get started and why'd you get started with Czar Clothing to start with?
Sure. I mean, part of my Eastern European heritage, you want to be able to celebrate that. I am Russian, but the concept necessarily is not Russian. It's really about building your own empire, building yourself. And whether you're a marketing expert that has their own business, or if you're an astronaut, or you're an accountant, or a teacher, or a salesperson, you're building your empire, right? Your family, your
Right.
job, your career, your life. And so we really want to align with basically people to help them build their empire and give them some motivation, and obviously give them some comfortable clothing to wear, whether that's around town doing things or going to the gym.
So before we hopped on, you were telling me about your struggles with getting your trademark, and I know that was a long process, but you were really determined to get the trademark czar
Mhm.
um, and czarina. So tell me a little bit about why that's important to you. What's the story behind czar?
Well, I think the trademark for a few reasons. Number one, I wanted to be able to, when I build the business, or as I build the business, I don't want somebody to come and say, "Hey, you're in violation of trademark. You have to shut the business down." Right. So I wanted to
Fair.
make sure that we had that, and we were able to get that. We got the Czarina. The trademark office said there was a conflict with Czarina. We contacted the person that had the quote conflict. I mean, some of the things the trademark office thinks is the same thing. Uh, I'm not sure. I think if they saw, a rock and a rose bush, they would say that's the exact same thing. But that being said, so the first person was Zarina. We worked it out, had a coexistence agreement. The second one was owned by a person that was an NBA coach, an NBA announcer, and basically his attorney or he were not real flexible to work with us. We tried to reach out, and I told him what my goals were. He wasn't using it. And if you're not using it, just like abandoning a child, he abandoned his trademark. He showed no effort to use it for 30 years, right? Not, this wasn't, 10 minutes after he got the
Yeah.
domain, or I'm sorry, didn't have the domain, but after he started using it. In any regards, didn't use it. We tried probably 40 times to work together, coexistence. I don't think the messaging got to him. His attorney, I think, was probably getting $500-600 an hour, and she let it go out, and she was phenomenal at obfuscating the message for 7 years. And so finally, they gave up after seeing how much money he was going to spend, and I think he just got a little frustrated, and they gave up, withdrew their withdrawals. But it was kind of an interesting story because it took long, but the person that the attorney, she was a little bit crazy, and so it's kind of a funny story. When she withdrew, and she had a bunch of things that she had said, but when they withdrew, basically they told the trademark office that my attorney and I were working directly with the Russian government and Vladimir Putin. He and I are on the phone
Oh
to
gosh.
steal their trademark. And why would the trademark office provide a U.S. trademark to Russian spies and people who are working with a hostile government?
Oh
And,
my gosh.
and stuff that we could, and they put this. This is what she submitted to and she also at one point had said, I actually talked to this person on the phone, very nice guy. We were about ready to work things out. And then his attorney got in the way. And basically, when we had the conversation, we were going to get back on the phone and work everything out. She had told the trademark office, this is probably 3 or 4 years ago, that my attorney and I they were in their homes hovering, scared, because my attorney and I had threatened them. We had hired Russian hitmen to hunt them down and to kill them. I mean, and it's and there's so many other stories.
Wow.
This lady's imagination was just beyond. I mean, it was just. And my attorney told me at the end of this, he goes, Nick, trademark and copyright law. I've been doing this for 30 some years. It's very, very boring. He says, your case is the most exciting thing I'd seen in my entire career. So I was like, wow, I felt special. But and he commended me on my determination and persistence because I have a vision, where we want to be. I mean, it's got to be Czar and Czarina. And so through some persistence, determination, and a whole bunch of money, I had a whole law firm working on this for 7 years. But I see a goal. But that's eventually we got it, and we were awarded the trademark, and we're moving
You
forward from there.
definitely had the determination for that. So you said you have a vision for the business. Tell me what your vision is. Like, what do you want this brand and this clothing line to be?
Sure. I mean, I think we have to take baby steps and take things one day at a time. So, we certainly want to build this to be, a couple, multi-million-dollar business. Initially the goal was, $5 to $10 million, which I think is very achievable. And what we're doing, and then from there we can kind of, take it from the next steps. And
Right.
could it be a 500 million or $1 billion or multi-billion-dollar brand down the road? I mean, if you look back 50 years ago, Nike was making shoes and literally a waffle iron. Literally, if you've
Right.
seen the movie Free,
Right.
and that's to me is amazing because I'm thinking the stuff that we have is way beyond what they did 50 years ago. And if we go from start from here, we there's a lot of things we can do. I mean, we're already ahead of where they were. And so I'd like to initially see it grow to $5 to $10 million. This potentially, because right now it's a side hustle. This be my real job, and then
Yeah.
grow it from there. And I think eventually maybe we look at venture capital and some other things, because I think there is room for. I mean, the athleisure market is still growing. It's 300-400 $1 billion,
Yeah.
and I think there's room. I mean, are we going to overtake some of these other big guys? Maybe, probably not. Maybe,
Is
but I
that
mean,
really the goal though? Like, is it to
no,
goal
no,
to
it's I think
overtake
for us,
them?
yeah,
Yeah.
for us to get our messaging out. But I think my point there was that I think that there's room for other players. I mean, there's market share to be had. And that may not even mean that some of these other bigger players lose market share, because just the growth. I mean, even if we just got a fraction of the growth, but that's really the goal in the near term.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the marketing that you've done recently. What has worked in your marketing? Like, what has gotten you out there so far?
So 4 years ago, the website went up in 2019. The website went up, and we had 10 shirts, no content. And it was like, here it is. And then I was like, okay, where do we go from here? And then we did my first shoot here locally. I have a friend that I met at the gym, and she did some modeling, and so we had her do the first shoot. And that was really kind of my first foray into getting content. One of the things that I had some challenges with Facebook, with privileges, having some other people work on my account. It got locked for a while, and
Oof.
so 9 months, and I had to go through some pretty dramatic stuff to get it reopened,
Yep.
or get them to open up, because there's nobody you can call. So,
Nope.
but my strategy is to proliferate across a lot of different platforms. I mean,
Okay.
we're on all the major ones. I have Czar and Czarina for most, and then some accounts I just have a consolidated one. But I mean, we're on your Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, obviously all of the ones that you would think of, Pinterest,
Yeah.
and then we're on some we maybe call rogue sites or some other sites, some video sites like BitChute, Rumble. We're on Gab, because there's a market, there's people there, and maybe we don't get 1 million people, but maybe we get 10,000 here, 1,000 here, 500 there. You start collecting that up, and we've got 20 or 30,000 people, and my LinkedIn is extremely mature, so we're leveraging that. But what first I think was trying to proliferate that. I figured out a kind of a system for content creation.
Oh,
I have
good.
personally had a lot of challenges with photographers, lots of challenges with photographers. But what I've found is on Fiverr and a couple other sites, I found models around the world. It does cost a little, in some way, it costs a little bit more just because of the shipping and some of the taxes. But I've kind of a number of great models from Ukraine, and they're actually living in France and Vietnam, in Italy, Belarus. I've got models in different parts of the world. We basically figure out what they're going to model. We figure out financial, how much they're going to get paid, and then basically they do the shoot. I send them the clothes. They do the shoot. I pay them, and then they send the content, and that's worked out really, really well. I don't know if it's just I found some great responsible models, and some of them I've done 6, 7 projects with, and there's 3 or 4 that we've done a bunch. And anyways, but that's worked out very, very well. The other thing that we started doing about 7 or 8 months ago is I wanted something to represent and want to align with some sports. I know that like NBA, NFL are pretty heavily sponsored by some of the big guys, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind
Yeah.
of wanted to go like Sam Walton, kind of go where the big guys are not going. And so I really found some connections for amateur MMA. So there's a
Oh,
number of leagues here locally. We were actually grateful enough to be introduced to a fighter named Omar Ramahi, who's a Palestinian fighter. He fights under James McSweeney. James McSweeney is kind of a legend in kickboxing and MMA. So we started sponsoring him and developed a relationship with him and James McSweeney. Now we're sponsoring a couple other guys, and a couple of things that we do when we sponsor them is one, the famous walkout, right? When they come out from the gym, they do their walkout. They're wearing our shirt,
right.
right? And oftentimes when they win, they'll do a quick shout out. But I get them to do a post, and then I also get them to do a photo shoot. We come meet them typically after they're working out. We go to the gym. I show up with a videographer, and we get some video and some footage. And I try to get them to say something like, I'm Czar Omar, build your empire, or something around building your empire, because that's
Hmm.
the premise for what we're doing, is to encourage others to build their empire. And I think those couple things have worked real well from a content perspective. And from there, we need a lot of help in other areas, particularly social media, with some of those platforms, because I still haven't figured out the algorithm and how to be successful on those. But we, in TikTok and Instagram, we've got some good followers, and Facebook and LinkedIn. I naturally have built over 20 some years a good following, but we're looking for ways to improve there, and obviously conversion rates.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when it comes to like your content, how often are you posting? What are you posting video? Are you posting just like static images? What are you posting?
Mostly video. I tell the
Okay,
models
awesome.
typically 75 to 80% video. Still I get 50-50 sometimes, or 75% pictures. But we really focus because video is the future,
It
right?
is.
Look at
Absolutely. That's why I
TikTok,
asked.
yeah, and Instagram is adapted, and now even when the vertical format, like YouTube and LinkedIn, they kind of
Everything's
have a
using it.
format for that where
Yeah,
they have put some stuff on the side so it doesn't look just kind of bare, right, with
right.
the sides of that. So I think they're starting to cater for that, and so we're shooting mostly in vertical for TikTok and Instagram and some of the other platforms. So,
Awesome.
but I think video is the future. When we create posts, some of it's just an individual clip, of them, of the model. But sometimes I have a number of I can edit. I have a number of editing tools. I probably have about a dozen tools I use to edit and cut video. And some where you just provide it 20, 30 clips, 50 clips, and it spits out a good
Yeah.
clip for 10, 20 seconds. And then there's some that I edit. I'll take, and editing a 30-second clip sometimes could take 4 or 5 hours if you want to do a really cool job.
Right.
Um, that's where some of those applications where you can just feed it pictures and video. And I think it's good to kind of mix those,
Yeah.
because the picture kind of allows you to freeze frame and kind of focus in on something. The video gives you some movement. And I think when you do that, and I have a background, I have a DJ company and I DJ. So you'll notice that the music that we align with that is usually on par, on beat. And maybe when the song kind of like cuts and kind of changes momentum, you'll see some cut in the visual, and then try to match. So as the beat, I listen to a lot of house music and electronic
Yeah.
music. So oftentimes when that break beats, then we'll have a quick change up of a whole bunch of quarter second, half second photos that kind of match the beat. But you'll notice if you follow us, a lot of stuff around music, and I have a couple sources for music. Some of my friends have given me some songs. I use some of the Instagram stuff it's on there. That's
Available.
pretty good. If you're allowed, yeah. And then I use artlist.io, which is a great platform. I don't use their video stuff yet because they offer a lot of B-roll, but their music is really good. I mean, and there's some
Nice.
stuff on there. It sounds like it could be a Jay-Z or a Beyonce, or some of the house music artists. It's really good stuff, and so we use that in kind of in combination. I post just about every day if I can. I typically don't miss too many days, and I try to do some different things. Stories are easy to upload, so typically definitely don't miss that. I think one of the biggest tricks is with Instagram is getting your clothes in with the catalog in Instagram so you can tag it. And I've had some challenges around that. They've made some changes.
Getting your store set
Um,
up. Yeah.
yeah, and so anyways, but that's what we've been doing from a posting perspective. There's still a number of things, some big things that we need to do that I'm well aware of. We're going to redo the website at the end of the month. Going to start, and so with that has to go SEO. We
Yeah.
need better SEO. The site, and plus the site is 4 years old. We've made some modifications here and there, but some major changes need to be made. Mostly aligning with Google, and then getting the catalog in there, and then SEO is absolutely critical. And it's just baby steps, right? There's always something there that needs to be done.
So have you, because I think your strategy going forward is similar to Fitz's, where because for those that you don't know, or I don't know if that I mentioned, but Nick was introduced to me by Fitz, who was one of the first people that I did a strategy session for on this. And with him, we were talking about using other people's audiences. And I think that's really where you're going to excel. You've already kind of started doing that by sponsoring some of these people in the MMA,
Mhm.
but looking for influencers on TikTok, on Instagram, on, the platforms that have millions of followers out there that you can um, sometimes pay or offer free clothing or whatever that is that works for that
Yep.
is going to get you put in front of them, especially if you have, and I don't know the price points for your clothing, so I don't know if this is viable or not, this thought, but if you have some kind of affiliate fee, right? So for every shirt that's sold under their name, they get $1 or whatever that might break down to.
Right. Yep.
Um, that'll really get you out in front of and start really pushing your brand, because I think what you said earlier about not figuring out the algorithms is reality, right? Like the algorithms, nobody's ever going to figure out. We're going to be
Right.
honest here. They're
Right.
changing constantly. That's not something that somebody's going to figure out. There are people that do a really good job of it, but they haven't like hacked the algorithm. They've just put enough time, energy, and effort
True. Yep.
into growing their audience.
Right.
So, looking at an influencer, I would say is step one in that. Step two would be to use some of your content and run traffic to it, whether they're Facebook and Instagram ads, TikTok ads, Pinterest ads, whatever ads platform. If you run just kind of visibility ads there, because you can run that for really low cost, you can spend like $5 a day and get thousands of people to see your brand.
Does it
You
make
can,
a difference basically what your goal is when you advertise on Facebook? If you tell them I want conversion, it's one price, and
yes,
just visibility. So if I just say I want people to my site,
yep,
it's a different price than if I say I want conversion.
yep.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it actually is more expensive to ask Facebook to find people who will buy from you. That being said, if you get people to your site and your site is good and your product is good and all of that, they're going to buy just because they're finding something that they're interested in. But
Right.
yeah, you can run traffic ads where it's really low cost per, day of ad spend on each of the platforms, and you can do it on all of the platforms. I mean, if you're spending $5 a day per platform and you do Facebook and Instagram as one platform, Pinterest, TikTok, maybe YouTube ads, like
Mhm.
those types of platforms where you're going to target your audience more. I'm not going to say your audience isn't on LinkedIn, but I have a feeling your audience, if you're targeting people that are following MMA and following, your audience is more of a younger demographic.
Sure.
They're not spending a ton of time on LinkedIn. They're on
Yeah.
TikTok, they're on YouTube, they're on Instagram. They're not even on Facebook really. They might be on Pinterest, but the reality is if you can run ads to those, you can reach a whole lot of people for not a ton of money. And I
Right.
think that's where you're going to get your biggest bang for the buck. The influencers and then just running low cost ads throughout for a while.
I see. Yeah, and with the rebuild of the website, I'm going to make sure that we have the capability to generate codes for anyone, right? The
Yeah.
MMA guy that we're sponsoring, I'm going to give him a code and say, hey, here's a code. It's under your name. going to get 15% off,
Yeah.
and anything you sell, we're going to give you X percent. So you can use it, not use it, and give them that option where they could indirectly make some money just by help promoting it. And I think that'll give some motivation because I don't, yeah, well, I'm not really
And if
paying people to post today.
exactly. If you look at people like, let's just say the Kardashians that have a bazillion followers. Now, I would not suggest trying to hire the Kardashians. I think it's like $1 million for them to post something for you.
Right,
However, when they post things, they blow up. Why? Because they have a huge audience that are dedicated to following them. So
right,
that's what you're really looking for are those influencers that have a big audience that follow them, that have in the past successfully done influencer marketing and pushed products to their audience, and that's really how they make their money. Influencers don't they're starting to make money via content. That's something that Facebook introduced the last couple of years. But prior to that, that wasn't how they were making money. They were making money by pushing whatever product that they
right.
thought their audience would like. And so if you find those type of people, that's a good way of using other people's audiences.
Yep.
And the paid traffic is a way of creating your own audience. So those are the two, I think, strategies that I would suggest that will help to lift your brand and get you out there in front of people.
Okay. Yeah, and we've also done a little bit of sponsorship work for one of the local amateur MMA leagues. That's somewhat expensive. I'm not sure what the ROI is on that. It's hard to track that, right? And that's where I think sponsoring the individual fighters will still work with the leagues. I think long term we'll probably still do some things because it will be cool. We have 2 or 3 fighters come out with our shirt,
Yeah,
right? And then maybe the corner post in the ring says our clothing on it or
right.
something like that to help reinforce it. So they're seeing it maybe on the screen, they see the fighters, they see it in the ring, because people need to see things five,
Yeah.
6, 8, 10 times, right? Until it really sinks in.
Sometimes more than that. That's really why part of our strategy with our clients is to have multi layers of ads running.
Right.
Those visibility ads are just to keep putting people in front of putting you in front of other people over and over and over again. Because in this day and age, it can take hundreds of times before people are ready to. And those hundreds of times could actually, depending on how long someone spends on social media, could just be one day. Um, but it's really about getting you in front of as many people as often as you can, so they're
Sure.
more prepared to buy.
Yeah, and more and some targeted people, right? People who are
The
interested in.
very yeah, it's very targeted. So you want with the influencers, you definitely want to understand who their followers are, right? Are they people that are would be interested in your brand? Like, is this a good marriage? Um, the other side of that is when you rebuild your website and you have those codes and all of that kind of stuff, tracking is going to become essential for you long term because, like you just
Right,
said, you don't know what the ROI is if you're not
right.
able to track it. And if you don't have those codes or anything, you're just kind of guessing on where purchases come from.
Yep, yep. And again, SEO, right, where we can get some traffic, people who are looking for a pink sweatshirt or pink crop top,
Yep.
long
Yeah,
shirt.
SEO can definitely help with that. Um, SEO is a long game. So
Yep,
SEO takes time. It can take 6 months to a year before your SEO is actually working well enough to start bringing in sales. That's
right.
where we use paid traffic to kind of lift that and boost it a little bit to get people coming first and then allowing SEO to kind of over time start doing its magic.
Yep,
So,
agreed. I definitely agree with you on that. All those things. So yeah, and I think we have to something called a pixel on the site where you can do this actually some tracking, right?
yeah, so your pixel will come from Facebook. So Facebook's pixel is just a little bit of code that comes from Facebook that you put on your website, and then Facebook can track places where you go. There's also code from Google, like your Google Analytics, that you also want to embed in there. When we run e-commerce type of, which is what your business is, right? Where people are they're buying a product, not necessarily a service. When we run these type of ads, we generally use Facebook's information and then support it with Google Analytics information
Mhm.
because one may drop, one may pick up. Like, you never, it's not perfect. And using the two of them kind of lets you get an average of, okay, this shirt did sell 15 of them from this ad or from, this code or whatever. It just kind of gives you that balance of understanding that you're getting the results that you're looking for.
Yep.
Something that you may or may not know is in using Facebook, you can actually run influencer ads. So you can run ads using somebody else's page and your pixel, which is a whole trick in the back end of things that I would suggest hiring someone to figure out because it is a trick in the back end of things. But like if you're running
Sure.
ads to an influencer, let's just use the Kardashians, like you're running the ads to the Kardashians page, so it's all going through their stuff, but you're getting all of the data of the people who are clicking on it and buying and all of that kind of stuff. So there are opportunities there as well.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, it might be an area we need some help.
I would say if you're getting to the point of running ads to influencers, you definitely want to hire somebody. Traffic ads, if you're not familiar with how to set up ads on multiple platforms, hiring someone is a great way to shortcut that. Like, you don't even
Mhm.
have to necessarily hire someone long term. You can hire someone to have them all set up properly and then turn back over to you. That's something that we do for people all the time. So I if you're uncomfortable with ads, definitely you want to look at hiring something for that. But I would start influencer marketing, ads marketing,
Mhm.
and see which ones, where you come. Now, I would also caution to avoid the influencer marketing until your website is ready. If you think your
Right.
website is good enough now to run paid traffic to it to see what happens, that's one thing, but I wouldn't send influencer marketing until you can track it because it's it's easier to track ads than it is influencers. Right? Influencers are going to give out a code. If you can't track that, you don't know what's working or what's not.
Right. Makes sense.
Mm, awesome. Okay, what questions do you have? Or I always dump a lot of information on people and then I see this like look of like, oh my goodness. So I always want to where are you at? What questions do you have? Or
Um, I mean, you can answer some things that I mean, I kind of knew about, the influencers and running ads. I mean, the first time I've heard someone say, leveraging someone else's audience. That's the first time I really heard somebody say
yeah.
that, and that is a key, right? And that's where we're trying to get with MMA, right? And we're trying to present one, an image for the brand, right,
Yeah.
and also hopefully get alignment where, because it is the fastest growing sport. People are pretty passionate about that. It
Yep.
is an alpha male sport. I mean, you're not going to find a whole lot of sissies with MMA,
True.
and we like that. We want Zara clothing to be very alpha, and we want Zarina to be very feminine. Although I have some women that have done some shoots and stuff with content, and we'll probably look to have some women MMA fighters.
I think that's a fabulous, like, I think if the MMA market is your target audience, use both genders. Use Czar and Czarinas, both genders
Definitely,
in there
definitely. And
to
there's a few
attract that.
Yeah, and there's a few sports that we're going to probably try to target. MMA being one, more on the male side, but definitely on the female too. But golf, I think, is great for a number of reasons. Right, there's a lot of money floating around with golf, but we have some great products as far as shorts and skirts and polos that you can wear for golf. Also tennis. And I have some like tennis dresses that are on some sports dresses that are on there, and they look very much for tennis, but you could probably wear those for golf. But I think we're going to align that, and then obviously yoga with the leggings, because we have
Yes.
a lot of really nice leggings and things like that. I think yoga is really for everyone. I mean, men that are lifting weights.
Oh
I
yeah.
hurt my arm recently and had been in a sling, still going through rehab. But I think had I been keeping up with my yoga and attending yoga, rather than, maybe 1 or 2 days less on the weights and trade those out for yoga, I probably wouldn't have had the issue because it was a pretty major surgery on my bicep. But if I had been stretching out and doing yoga, so I'm definitely a believer of that. But I think those are a couple of the sports that we're going to align with.
I think also if you look at the what is it, the B leagues, like not the NFL, but the league that's like, I know we have one in the St. Louis area that just opened, that's like
MMA.
with just and with NFL, like there's that secondary league of, they're not
Mhm.
quite high end professionals, but they're still playing professional football. The same goes with
Sure.
baseball and soccer and all of those different kind of things. If you look at those smaller leagues as well, they're still professionally run, they're just not the big
Right.
NFL
That's
names.
what we're doing with MMA, and I
Yeah.
think we want to spread out a little bit more. I mean, and we've been Peak Fighting is who we've been sponsoring the fighters there. Haven't worked with them direct, but some of these other leagues, and whether they're here in Europe, because there's leagues all over the world. I mean, there's
Yeah,
numerous leagues just
absolutely.
there's Peak and XKO, and I think there's a few others. And so we're going to try to hit those. We just found we had a pretty good bang for the buck for sponsoring the fighters, and it helps them out because they're severely underpaid,
Right.
right?
Right.
Especially in the amateur leagues. And so we're going to definitely do that. And I think potentially look for maybe even college athletes in golf. I really would like. I tend to enjoy watching women's golf and tennis for whatever reason. I don't know, and I think just because of their flexibility and stuff, I think to
Some
some
of
degree
the
they're better.
college athletes nowadays have created an influencer market. Like there are
Yes.
some out there that have created brands all wrapped around them and their who
Hmm.
they are. And those are great influencers to reach out to, because again, they're not so big. They're not so big that they're in the NFL or whatever, but they
Right.
still have a good following in an age range that would probably be attracted to your products.
Yes, yeah, I think that's good. And there's actually a company that has a platform specific
Yeah.
to that. I won't mention their name, but there's a
Yeah.
membership fee associated with it. But you can go in there and you can say, I want a curling athlete in Germany. I mean, you can
Yeah.
literally go that granular. You can say, I want a boxer in New York, female. And you can go that granular. I want a female hockey player in Minnesota. And you could go that and because I think we do a great job with swimsuits. So I thought even some swimmers and some men or women,
Yeah.
maybe women swimmers would be great, especially if they're athletes and models. And that with doing the college, focusing on the college athletes, one, I think it helps them out, right? And two, it can allow you to kind of focus in on some geographical areas.
Mhm.
So since I'm here and I've done some advertising in this region, so it would be great to look at athletes at say Baylor and SMU and maybe University of Houston and Rice, right? And kind of align because they may have seen some of our pop-ups or they may have seen our
Right.
advertising or they know me. And so we're going to try to focus a little bit on advertising in this area because that could be just another way that someone locally had seen our ad or a pop-up or
Again,
something.
we're using other people's audiences, and that's really how you're going to scale. You only have two options. You use other people's audiences and uh, and pay a fee towards that, or you use paid traffic and pay a fee towards that. It's just a matter of which one or both is going to work for
Yep,
you right now.
yep, that totally makes sense.
So, sounds
Um, yeah, I mean, how do you see this changing social media, and how do you see the landscape changing over the next couple of years?
So one of the things that social media has been focusing more and more on is like creator content. So content creation is going to be more and more important, videos, all of that kind of stuff. I know people have I've heard people say things like Facebook is dead and all of that. They're not. Like they're still the largest social media platform out there. They have, I don't know, I think 5 billion people a day using their app. So it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of learning to use what they're offering you in a way that's
Hmm.
going to be beneficial. And I think that's what people have neglected to do. They've just kind of thrown up their hands and walked away because it's no longer free. Like 5, 10 years ago, I guess probably closer to 10 years at this point, when ads first started running, you could make $1 million on Facebook without running an ad. It's not an
Mhm.
option anymore. So you
Right.
have to have the money behind you to kind of boost you up, even if it's just to run visibility ads so that you get to grow your audience. Um,
Mhm.
I don't see social media going anywhere. It's just a matter of how us, especially in our generation, because, I'm Gen X. eh, Social media, I always say this, I say this all the time. It makes me sound old, but, you know, social media wasn't a thing when I was a kid. It's only been around for 20 some odd years. So my business has grown with the social media platforms, and it's just a matter of adapting to what we have available to us.
Yeah. I watch a lot of Gary V. I think he
Yep.
kind of gave me some confidence because first when I started doing the shoots, I was like, now I've got content.
Now
What
what?
do I do with it? How do I present it? And I think there's always room for learning. But yeah, he always says, content is king, and I hear that, and I've adopted that motto, and that's
Yeah.
why I've had this success with some of the models as far as content because I've got content coming in. I mean, we do the MMA shoots here locally just because the guys are here, right?
Right.
But some of these other models that are on Fiverr or other modeling platforms or just individuals, we've had success. But I think creating content, getting it out there. Some things look great. I think what we're doing is I mix it up and I do some different things. I try to incorporate the house music and things like that. And as of late, I've tried to get like motivational quotes and things aligned with the MMA guys.
Hmm.
To try to have that perception where I'm not necessarily selling a product in there, but the concept of building your empire and confidence and motivation, and that there are challenges and obstacles. And so I'm trying to plant that seed. I think build your empire is very good motto for what we're doing
I
because it's not
I love the fact that you're focusing on the brand as a whole and not just the t-shirt or the leggings or whatever, not the product itself, because that's what sells. Brands are what sells. People buy Nike. They used to just buy the shoe, but they don't buy the shoe anymore. They buy Nike. They buy the brand. People buy, the Louis Vuitton because it's Louis Vuitton, not because that bag is any prettier than anybody else's, right? They buy the
right.
brand.
And you think we're doing some things right there?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think you're establishing your brand. They also buy your story. So being able to tell your story about why, even, taking it back to why czar and czarina is important to you, like what that means, who a czar was or who a czarina was, like really diving into that story so you can kind of help to establish the build your empire kind of theme. I
Uh,
think is also important because that's
yeah, and I think Czar and Tsarina, right, are not necessarily they're it's used in Russia, right? And it's used in
right.
but it's also used in Caesar, right? Caesar is
Right.
where it came from, and Germany used Kaiser, right? And so there's been some variations
Variations.
of that, and that's and Czar is where Caesar is where Czar came from, and I think by doing that and aligning that, we could certainly come up with some themed shirts around Germany, right?
Mhm.
Kaiser, and I actually have some other designs I'm going to have that come out with Caesar, right? But I mean, it's whether you're Italian, you're Spanish, Portuguese, German, Chilean, or Chinese, or Japanese, or Korean, you're going to be building your empire, right? Whether
Right.
you're going to school, building your career, building your life, and building those things. And I think we can align with that. And I appreciate your positive comments on us trying
Yeah.
to. Sometimes I get worried. I send out a post. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't tag it. I didn't tag the clothing, but is it needed every time? And maybe not.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you're posting daily, people are going to see that post on a every day, every other day kind of background. That's why when you're talking about organic posting, it's difficult to grow because Facebook controls the algorithm or TikTok controls the algorithm, whatever. They control who sees it when, which is why like paid traffic helps so much because then you get to push it to as many people because they control how many people see it in a time frame.
I see.
Um,
And I think as of late, one of the things that I've been doing is taking like motivational quotes and things. Some of them I find on Instagram where you can use the audio. And there was one, I think it sounded like it was Denzel Washington, but he said, I woke up one day and stopped making excuses. And all I did was just have a video of MMA Omar with his hands up against the wall. Underneath our banner, we have a banner in
yeah.
his gym, but just, and that was it. And then some music kicks in, and then I have our a piece of media that just says, you know, is our clothing build your empire with the eagle. And if you
Right.
know anything about the double eagle, I wrote an article on the double-headed eagle, but that double-headed eagle has been used in all kinds of different Spain and Greece, and actually back to the Hittites and Egypt 7,000 years ago, 5,000 BC. So there's a lot of people, but it symbolized empires.
Right.
And so that's where we're using that double head. Our formal logo is more like a cross or kind of a crest, but the eagle, we get a lot of good feedback, especially the MMA guys are like, oh man, this looks so cool on a shirt. But in any regards, there's a lot of history aligning with empire building from, you know,
Yeah.
the Ottoman Empire, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're trying to align that. And again, Czar is not necessarily affiliated with any specific ethnic background. It's really you, me, we're all
Right.
trying to build our own empire. And
Right.
if you're a mother at home with kids, you're still building your empire, right?
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
arena.
And I think that's the story, that's the brand that you really want to build and you want to grow. And then it's just a matter of getting enough people to see it, right? So it doesn't, like, your visibility content doesn't necessarily need to be constantly, here's my shirt, here's my pants, here's my, this whatever
Right.
outfit. You can definitely be more about the story, like build your empire. I love the quote that you just gave with the, never give up. Like those are things that people run into all the time. So if they can feel good about wearing the clothes because that message makes them feel good and feel empowered, that's definitely going to help you sell more.
Appreciate your feedback. This is great
Mhm.
information.
Awesome.
And hopefully allows me to align our marketing message with a lot of things that you had said.
Awesome. Awesome. All righty, my friend. It was great talking to you today, and I am so glad that we were able to hop on this call. For those of you out there that watch this episode or listen to this episode and you want to join me on one of these episodes for a completely free marketing strategy, head over to yourmarketingmatchmaker.com and sign up on the website to join me on a call. Thanks for joining me today. And thank you, Nick, for being open, honest, and vulnerable about what's going on with your business. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Matchmaker podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear your feedback. Please head over to Apple, iTunes, and leave a review so we can hear from you. And if you are a coach, consultant, or online course creator who are looking to grow your business, increase your income, and scale your impact, connect with me at yourmarketingmatchmaker.com. I look forward to hearing from you.